It was November 29th, 1970. The mountains of western Norway held a quiet, imposing majesty under a low winter sun, casting long, dark shadows across the snow. For Per Haugland, an avid outdoorsman, and his two young daughters, this crisp, cold Sunday afternoon was a cherished family ritual. They knew these trails intimately, the familiar crunch of snow under their boots, a comforting rhythm against the profound silence of the high country. It was a chance to escape the modern world, to breathe the sharp, clean air of the wilderness, and to feel the satisfying bite of the cold on their cheeks. The air was utterly still, the silence broken only by their own quiet footsteps and the occasional excited chatter of the children, their voices quickly swallowed by the immense, indifferent landscape. They were alone, or so they thought. The landscape unfolded around them, a starkly beautiful canvas of brilliant white snow and dark, jagged rock. They were hiking in a place known as Isdalen, the Ice Valley. To locals, it held a more ominous reputation, whispered as Death Valley, a place of historical tragedies, medieval suicides, and more recent unsolved disappearances. But for the Hauglands, it was simply a part of their world. This was a realm where nature reigned supreme, ancient, and indifferent. Surrounded by a profound, almost deafening silence, they were miles from the nearest road, completely cut off from civilization. The mountains here have a way of making you feel small, a temporary visitor in a world that has stood for millennia and will stand for millennia more. They were unaware that this seemingly untouched wilderness was not just guarding a secret, but was about to offer up a clue to one of its most enduring and chilling mysteries. But on this day, their familiar trail would lead them somewhere new, guided by a flicker of chance. As they rounded a rocky outcrop, something unusual caught Per's eye. It wasn't the natural gleam of ice, but a persistent, metallic glint, a flash of manufactured light, half buried in the snow. His first thought was simple annoyance, discarded rubbish, even here. But something about it held his gaze. It was too deliberate, too out of place in this pristine environment. As he drew closer, he saw its unnatural shape, its sharp angles stark against the soft, organic curves of the mountain. Curiosity overriding his initial dismissal, he knelt down. His daughters gathered around, their youthful excitement a stark contrast to his growing sense of unease. Using his gloved hands, he began to carefully brush away the compacted snow and ice, the cold seeping into his fingertips as he worked. What he slowly uncovered was not random debris. As the snow fell away, Per's curiosity turned to sheer astonishment. This was something complex, something meticulously engineered. A tangled web of wires and intricate components peeked through a shattered casing, evidence of a violent impact long ago. It felt utterly alien, a piece of advanced technology marooned in the primordial wilderness. Per, a man of the mountains, knew instantly this was no lost hiking gear or weather balloon. It was a relic from another time, a secret the mountain had held captive for decades, perfectly preserved in its icy tomb. This was no ordinary find. It was a ghost from the Cold War, a tangible piece of the shadow war fought by spies and secret agencies in the skies above neutral nations. This clandestine technology, lying dormant on a Norwegian mountainside, was the first breadcrumb in a trail of deception and mystery. A trail that would lead investigators into a labyrinth of false identities, international espionage, and ultimately, to the unidentified, charred body of a woman who never was, the Isdal woman. The woman's burned body was lying among the rocks. Inside her luggage, wigs, multiple passports, coded notes. Some believed she was a Cold War spy. The questions surrounding her death echo through the decades, each one a dead end for investigators. Police files grew thick with speculation, but thin on facts. Every label on her clothing had been meticulously cut away, every identifying mark on her possessions removed. It was a deliberate erasure of self. Then there was the collection of wigs, the elaborate disguises. Found among her possessions were multiple passports, each with a different name but her photograph. Was this the work of a professional operative, trained in the art of deception by an intelligence agency? Or was she a woman running from something so terrifying that complete anonymity was her only shield? The spy theory gained traction, fueled by the intense paranoia of the Cold War. This was an era when Europe was a chessboard for the KGB and Western intelligence. Her movements across sensitive borders seemed too precise for an amateur. Investigators even found a notepad filled with what appeared to be a coded message, a cryptic sequence of letters and numbers that has defied decryption for half a century. But others saw a fugitive, perhaps escaping a powerful criminal syndicate. Or was the truth far more personal and infinitely more tragic? Was she simply a woman desperate to reinvent herself, shedding old skins with each new city, trying to outrun a memory that couldn't be disguised? The trail of false identities she left across Europe points to a meticulously planned existence, a life lived in the shadows of anonymous hotel rooms and transient railway stations. She moved with the discipline of a soldier, her routes carefully plotted. She paid for everything in cash, using different currencies to avoid a paper trail. Witnesses reported a woman who was elegant and well-dressed, yet guarded. She spoke multiple languages, German, French, Flemish, and English, switching between them effortlessly. She never stayed long, leaving behind nothing but a string of bewildered hotel clerks and the faint, lingering scent of an expensive perfume. Each alias was a carefully constructed fiction, a shield against a world she was determined to leave behind. But in her quest for anonymity, she succeeded far too well. The most haunting question remains: why was no one looking for her? Global police alerts were issued through Interpol. Her face, reconstructed by forensic artists, was printed in newspapers from Oslo to Paris. Yet an unnerving silence was the only reply. No frantic family, no worried friend, not a single person from her past stepped forward to give her back her name. It was as if she had never existed at all, a ghost who walked the earth and then simply vanished back into the ether. Decades later, journalists and scientists still search for answers. The discovery in Norway's Isdalen Valley, a place locals ominously call Death Valley, was just the beginning of a story that defies easy explanation. On a cold November day in 1970, hikers stumbled upon a scene of chilling strangeness: the charred remains of a woman. For over 50 years, her identity has remained a ghost, a puzzle box of contradictions that investigators have struggled to piece together. Every clue unearthed, from coded notes to a trail of aliases, only seemed to deepen the enigma. The initial hope for a quick identification soon dissolved into a frustrating labyrinth of dead ends and false leads. Who was this woman, and what brought her to this desolate end? She was a phantom who moved through the world under at least 9 different names: Fenella Lork, Claudia Tielt, Vera Jarl. She was a chameleon, armed with a collection of wigs, non-prescription glasses, and elaborate disguises that allowed her to shift her appearance at will. This wasn't just a desire for privacy, it was the work of a professional. Every label from her clothes was meticulously snipped away. Every personal effect was chosen to reveal nothing, a curated collection of anonymity. She traveled across Europe with an intense, unspoken purpose, her movements tracing a deliberate path from Paris to Stavanger, always alone. It was a mission she revealed to no one, a mission that ultimately led her to a bizarre and violent end in that remote Norwegian valley. The theories are as numerous as her aliases, each one colored by the paranoia of the era. Was she a Cold War spy, a pawn in the shadowy dance between East and West? At the time, Norway was a critical NATO front line, and her death coincided with top-secret tests of the Penguin missile, a new naval weapon that could change the balance of power. This has led many to believe she was an agent of an intelligence service like Israel's Mossad or East Germany's Stasi, sent to gather intelligence and silenced before she could report back. Or was her mission less political and more criminal? Perhaps a courier for an international syndicate, silenced when a deal went fatally wrong. The possibilities are as dark and tangled as the forest where she was found. Incredibly, the official verdict from the Bergen police was suicide, a conclusion that seems to willfully ignore the chilling evidence. The high concentration of carbon monoxide in her lungs proves she was alive as the fire raged around her. Yet, the lethal dose of sleeping pills found in her stomach hadn't fully dissolved. She was simultaneously being burned and poisoned. Furthermore, the placement of her body and belongings felt unnatural, staged. Her jewelry and watch were placed beside her, not on her. This wasn't a desperate solitary act. It was a professional execution, a murder meticulously designed to erase an identity from existence, and for reasons unknown, the authorities seemed content to close the book. The Isdal Woman story is so haunting because it forces us to confront how fragile identity can be, how easily a person can be erased. She is a chilling testament to the secrets that can be buried, but never truly forgotten. For decades, the case lay cold. But recently, new technologies have offered a glimmer of hope. Isotope analysis of her teeth, a chemical signature of the water she drank as a child, has traced her origins to the region of Nuremberg, Germany, suggesting she was born around 1930. This places her childhood directly in the path of the Second World War, adding another profound layer to her story. Yet, even with this scientific breakthrough, the central questions remain unanswered. Who was she? Who did she work for? And who wanted her dead so badly that they tried to burn her from history itself? Her name is lost to time, but her mystery endures, a silent ghost of the Cold War, forever waiting in Death Valley.